Warming up.
Yeah, should be connected now.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It is 9:09. We will find out if we will get disconnected in 6 minutes.
That is a real concern.
But yes, we are warming up for our show. If you are out there, please comment. Please say hello. Please let us know you're watching because we can't tell you're watching unless you do so. Well, we are just manually now resharing the links. I can see it in YouTube.
My Facebook hasn't refreshed yet.
Oh wow, there's already people watching in YouTube. Do comment. We can't see who you are.
And I think it's like the people who accidentally click in and then they disappear immediately thereafter. But hey, if you want to stay, that's cool too.
That's possible.
It's
That's
cool.
possible.
Cool.
So we're still having a quick high from a game session. We just played Jim Pinto's Fairview. Officially episode 2.
Episode 2. Because we had a 0, 1, and 2.
Yeah. Oh wow, look at that. It's really sharp. I mean, having the light super close and blinding does.
I'm sure it is a factor.
Okay.
Oh, I think I'm doing this wrong. Wait, I need to find the deep right chair.
Okay. I am resharing as well. Oh my golly.
I wish there was like a more automated script for this. It's just like,
Yeah.
once we go live,
Well, there probably is, and we just really haven't dug deep into studying. Yeah. Starting in a bit, still resharing. Help us reshare links. Help us get more viewers.
Yep. Okay. That's wow. So who's here now? So I see Kenny
Hey, Kenny.
on YouTube. He's curious for the surprise. We have Mai and Urim. Hello.
Kenny says I like the sound effects. Oh boy. Okay, the glasses are like super reflecting light and the shadows on my eyes.
Then you can't see.
Everything's a blur.
Just put it back on. Then you're gonna complain you can't see.
Or it could be terrible and wear the reading glasses, which is sharper. Because at this range, I still need the lower part, so I keep doing that. And then like hurts my neck.
Wow. So Wawa the you.
Yes, I am the Wawa. Are you Wawa? I am Wawa.
I tweaked the wording of the topic, Kenny, because the grammar nerd in me was like, if I did it the original way it was phrased, which is teaching, mentoring, and apprenticeship, then it's non-parallel verb structure. They're not all gerunds because of that. Then it would either be like education, mentorship, and apprenticeship, or it's teaching, mentoring, and apprenticing.
Oh
So-
no, I think I did that.
What?
No. I kept it. Teaching, apprenticing. And
You just change the order.
Yeah.
That's just
Because I like having vowels in between consonants.
that's how words work.
Yeah, so teaching, and then T, and then apprenticeship A, and then mentoring M.
So Tam,
Compared to, what is yours? Tma.
that is not a thing.
Yes. Okay, everyone, we are starting in 1 minute.
I feel like I feel like the camera because of the way because we flipped the stand right. Then I feel like it's more to my left than
I
normal.
don't. No, the stand was always like that.
No,
Was
there
it-
there are times it's the other way. So it's
Yeah.
like recently it's been the other way. Oh no, stream is dropping for Kenny. I hope not. How about you people on YouTube? Sorry, on Facebook? How is the stream doing?
Well, I still see it running
We're
here.
past the curse time, so I hope that helps. I already have this on internet priority. We don't have anything else on, I think.
Yeah, it still seems to be running on the monitor. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Kenny can come back. Hey Mitch, hey Mai, hey Urim.
So
Um,
who else is there? There's at least two people who aren't saying anything, but that's normal.
Mitch says everything's okay on Facebook.
Okay.
Hopefully Kenny's back. So it's 9:15. I guess it's good enough to start our episode. Oh my god! I just realized I haven't done Duolingo. I'll have to do that before
Same
the day ends.
same thing. I haven't done Duolingo. I haven't done Elevate. I haven't blogged yet. Because when we play a game, it's like I'm more focused on the game, obviously.
But I guess it's good enough as a reason to start now.
I guess so.
We start with the
No.
lines. We start with the start.
We start with
We
the
start with the
start.
start. Ah, we start with the start. Okay, we're gonna start with the start because it's episode 200. Oh boy, this is gonna be fantastic. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you
I
ready?
just hope it works.
But are you ready to see it? Are we gonna press one?
Oh yeah, we should do like, hey, if you're ready, press 1. You know, that sort of thing. We're very drag queen inspired.
We're very
1,
annoying.
one.
Press 2, then 0, then 0. Please press 1 if you're ready so we know you're live, you're watching, and we will start.
Your shirt is so big. Sorry. Okay. All right. Got a 1. Oh, hello, Tristan. Thank you for tuning in for episode 200. Oh my God.
So I guess let's start.
Okay, 1 moment. Okay, then let us know if you hear anything because this may not work.
Let's hope it works.
Oh yeah! Really right!
Hey.
Wait, I'm unmuted.
Hello, everyone.
Did you hear anything? Did that work? Did that work? Please tell us that worked.
Anyway, let's get started.
Wait, I want to hear confirmation first before I can see it. Did it work? Did it work? Did you hear it?
Did you all hear Mitch singing?
Did you hear Mitch? This is a Mitch remix.
Yes, it's a Mitch remix. Anyway.
Do we do it again?
One more.
Let's do one more.
Let's do one
Wait,
more. One more.
I gotta take everything off. Okay. Oh wait, then I have to load it again.
Oh yeah! Really right!
Oh my god.
Okay, everyone. This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet which has a title sequence now where we talk about anything we want.
It's completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. As you can see, we have an all new intro title sequence thanks to Mitch and a lot of free time.
Oh wow, Wesley's here. Hello, Wesley. And then yeah, but it was Toby stayed up late earlier this week.
No, that wasn't me. That was still Mitch.
This was Mitch, and we also have to thank Mitch for actually the music that was sampled for the intro. Mitch actually helped secure it.
She found it. She recommended it to us. She gave us a quick sample voice track on how it could sound like,
and then we used this.
And I decided I'll do it. And I used the sample. I found out how to auto-tune and the things you learn. And in many ways, that's the topic of tonight's 200th episode.
Yes.
It's all about learning, apprenticeship, mentoring, call it what you will, but it's all about expanding your knowledge.
Yeah, and this was a suggestion by Kenny, who is watching over on YouTube. So thanks for this suggestion.
Oh yeah!
And then I guess it's a fun coincidence that actually Toby earlier today actually gave a talk online about mobile games, right?
Yeah, mobile games at the time of pandemic. It was for the ITAM convention, ITAM Con which they I think this is the fourth time I've been a speaker for them, which is interesting.
Oh,
So
okay,
the
cool.
previous ones were I had to actually had to go to the school, and then I'd be messaging you afterwards like, oh my god, I don't know how to get back. You know? But yeah, so that's our topic tonight. The topic was a recommended topic. So if any of you are new viewers, just so you know, Baduy Pride is an almost nightly show, almost at 9 p.m. every night, and
We try, guys. We try.
and we do welcome people to submit their concept, their ideas, their thoughts, their questions as possible topics. When we find a way to get around to making them episodes, we will.
Yeah, we can't guarantee that we'll do everyone,
Mhm.
and then like there's like another 50 episodes in the queue right now, and we tackle maybe 3 to 4 a week. I mean, in terms of like the viewer suggestion pool. So, but we try, We'll get around to it eventually.
Oh, Amit says, our first for the 200th episode, Fiskis! Oh, yeah!
It's such an earworm actually. When Toby first played it, oh my god! Then I think for the next few days I kept humming it. If you listen to actually, I think the last 2 episodes, I've been humming it at the beginning before we started, like different elements of
Because we
it.
did create it that many episodes ahead of time.
Yeah. I think you finished it like Monday or Tuesday night,
Yes.
and then yeah,
I learned to auto tune in one sitting.
and then we've been waiting for tonight before debuting it. But I don't know, we do something for episode
Mm.
200. So
And that was a lot of I made it, and then I'm not happy, and then I'll make second version, and then Rocky, listen to this, and then Rocky's just staring, and like, okay, wait, I'll work on it more. And then we found a way to have some graphics and stuff. So yeah,
and the duck.
wah, wah, wah. So yeah, this is episode 200. So where do you want to start? And please, let's not define things.
Wow. Toby says we're not gonna define things. Let's see how long that lasts.
So what is mentoring? How is it different from teaching an apprenticeship? What?
I don't know how to help you. Okay, so yes, Pico, it's been 200 episodes. Isn't it
Mhm.
crazy? So I guess we just there's we get exposed to teaching early on,
Mhm.
but I think it really gets more value when you're a more active participant in learning. I mean, when you first think about your forays into education, it's something you have to do. You don't fully understand.
You're forced to go to
why.
school.
Yeah, then you just have to learn, and because everybody says you have to learn, and then it doesn't feel like something you necessarily choose to do, especially because the education system like bombards you with like you have to learn everything. You have to learn language, you have to learn math, you have to learn science, blah blah blah. So it only I feel it becomes a lot more meaningful, maybe at least in college, where some of you were able to start to choose courses that you actually were interested in. Many of us chose courses based on what our parents would approve
Thanks,
and would send
Bamiao.
us to school. Um, so, but at least that's like the first inklings of choosing things you actually want to do. And then later on in your adult life, it's a mix of like figuring out your career and stuff. And I think the more interesting part maybe to explore is that latter part. Like, um, as an adult, when you choose to educate yourself, choose to add to your skills, choose to grow in that regard, how do you go about it, and what are the methods for it?
I will, however, state that as far as design theory is concerned, um, there is that belief that the human psyche and the human nature um, draws from fun, draws from play. And that's where the initial learnings begin. It's by learning from mistakes, it's by learning from what amuses and what excites. And in as much as there is that feeling that school starts as something imposed on you, we can go further back to preschool where it's all about exploration, it's all about finding out what to do, having fun with everyone. And you're actually still studying, but it just comes out as play. So
Are we Are we back? Hello. We lost connection for a moment. Hello. Please let us know. They said it stopped. Okay. Are we back? Are we back? Are we back? Are we back?
Okay, I saw the stars flicker. Maybe we're back. Are we back? Are we back? Please let us know if we're back.
It's not the Baduy Pride episode without a tech problem this week.
Are we back? Are we back? Are
But
we
I
back?
see we're
Are we
moving.
back? Okay, they say, yeah, we're back. Yay!
Okay, okay. Thanks for hanging through.
We're back. So,
Continue, Toby. Go on.
no, all I'm saying is, there is that shift to suddenly becoming very concerned with performance and scores rather than celebrating interest and curiosity. So that shift was kind of sad, but it's the reality of how education works in as far as how humans have practiced it,
Mm-mm.
save for certain alternative learning in schools.
Yeah. So, and then even when you get to work, like initially, it starts with a lot of things that you have to learn.
Mm.
And I mean, depending on how formally your company has onboarding training for you or on the job training, I mean, it takes a while to kind of get into the skills, but it's typically a lot more fast paced, a lot more compressed. They all assume that you're going to hit the ground running,
Yes.
and then you kind of catch up from there. So, it's a very different experience.
Mhm.
Um, I will. Oops, I hit the table. I will take a moment to appreciate though that teaching is a unique skill, and I get why there are a lot of like seminars and stuff that position teaching as a vocation,
Mhm.
that it's a calling almost to do, because it takes a certain kind of person to decide to teach and to dedicate yourself to you know, educating
Mhm.
others and furthering the knowledge of others.
Mhm.
Because at times it can be pretty thankless. The amount of work that you have to do is crazy.
Mhm.
As much as we complain about how much work that the students of today seem to have to do versus like our time maybe. Also, that means an equal or greater amount of work for the teachers themselves, because after the whatever you could say 9 to 5 school day, then the teachers still have papers to check, homework to prepare, modules to lesson plans to do. A lot of teachers in the school setting also are also required to continue to gain accreditation, so they're
Mhm.
studying for their masters, they're trying to get other degrees, and so they're also learning at the same time. So it really takes a certain sort of person to decide to become a teacher.
And just when you thought that's already all the load and troubles they're carrying, there's the added ones wherein in the past you have bad grades, parents are angry at you. Why aren't you performing? Why aren't you studying? Now you're having bad grades, parents are angry at your teacher. Why is my son not better? And the teachers have no choice. They have to carry that load. They have to still be.
I feel like that was always there though.
No. There was a time when.
Have you met my mom?
Well, that's your mom. Hi, Tita. If you're watching, Rocky said it, not me. No, but there was a time wherein it was always the student's fault because the
Mm.
teachers were seen as they were in charge. But at a certain point, it shifts wherein, the teachers don't know what they're doing. And, the parents scold the teachers why their kids aren't doing well. And it's a frustrating reality that now many teachers have to contend with. I've I've even heard of horror stories where some teachers in public schools are forced to still pass students because they need the numbers to show that the school is performing that well.
Yeah, I mean there are a bunch of government programs that try to incentivize like people passing rates, reading rates, whatever statistics, and then that because you put money into the game, then it can skew things a bit because and it may not be on the level of the individual teacher, but sometimes it gets pretty high up the chain. We're not making any deliberate I don't have any evidence for or against it,
Yeah.
but it opens up this possibility, needless to say, and it muddies the education process.
So some comments from our viewers. Wesley shares more resources nowadays compared to the days of visits to the National Library. I guess that was in reference to something.
Which is true though. I mean, like because there's the internet now, but at the same time, I feel like we're also expecting students to learn a lot more than
Mhm.
before, and as much as there is access to things like the internet, but then that access is not universal. There are still a lot of people, especially in this country, who do not have regular access to the internet
Mm.
for these sort of things and cannot compete
Yes.
with other students who
And
can.
then, despite having the access, they might not necessarily know how to go through the index and search for the right content. Because
Mm.
let's face it, the internet is an ocean of information and misinformation. So, in as much as you could say, mag-internet ka na lang, hanapin mo, they might Google and find the wrong thing.
That is true.
And no one will tell them it's the wrong thing until they present it, and then worse, get ridiculed for presenting the wrong thing. And now, all the more, they might not want to use those resources. Mitch mentions that's why the allocation is 2 hours to deliver one subject. This includes prep and checking.
That's fair. I mean, like, yeah, the amount of preparation, I imagine, always doubled the actual class time. Okay.
Pico shares, the passing rate doesn't make sense to me. If a teacher's doing their job in good faith, they should get paid fairly, regardless if they pass everyone or fail everyone, I presume. It's just more of the KPI in school, but it defines there is something wrong in the approach, and it's not the teacher's fault. That, for me, in my perspective, that is a tricky area because it depends on the school and the teachers.
And the government.
There are some schools that are very controlling. You know, the teachers, this is the lesson plan. I don't care what you want to teach this. Because for some schools, that's
Especially
mandated.
under K-12.
Yeah, that's mandated by the government. Wala kang choice. Ito yung materials mo. Other schools favor certain skill sets. So without naming any specific schools, you might go to the school, they'll throw in all these additional stuff about language, about English, because they want you to be someone who can communicate better. Maybe they'll remove some of the other things because they consider it not as important.
Well, but they can't go below the minimum
Yes.
requirement of like K-12 or whatever academic framework
But
the government is requiring.
But the scary thing about hitting those requirements, it can be as simple as making sure you quiz that touches it.
That is true. Or that there's one question in an exam.
Yes. So that is a large part of the challenges of centralized learning in an automated manner using computers and digital equipment, which I had to swim through when I was working in that aspect.
But regardless, I still, we take a moment to admire the people who continue
Yes.
to choose to be teachers, especially public school teachers, in an environment that is so complex and hostile at times, and especially now under the pandemic and the challenges of remote learning.
Yes.
I mean, it's like the cards are stacked against the education
Mhm.
system at the moment, and you gotta appreciate those who continue to fight the good fight. Okay.
They have unbelievable resources of courage sometimes. I remember that one teacher I met who, in her desire to help the students expand their learning, she built a library in the corner of the faculty area, where students can literally just go to borrow and read whatever they want because she wanted to encourage reading. And in as much as there was some support, to be very blunt about it, a teacher shouldn't have to be the one worrying about having a library.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's that sort of challenge. Then you have some parents who are complaining, why do the kids have access to books like this? Ban daw yan.
Yeah.
So yes.
So yeah, and then but when you get out of the professional sphere, and I don't know, I guess we can try to touch on mentoring and apprenticing or apprenticeship, depending on formal language you want to use. Then it's not always as clear cut. I mean, a lot of jobs are like, what's this? Work will always be eager to get you working as soon as possible. And then if it's a specialized skill set, then they will need to train you. And we see that especially like the easy example is the BPO sphere, where everybody has to go through standardized training in order to meet the requirements for the program, because there's like technical knowledge that you need to learn. In addition to being able to handle things on the phone, it's like the nuances of the product you're going to support or the service and the like. But then you have other jobs where onboarding as it starts is a lot more informal, and then you'll really most likely just buddy up with someone at work, and they will kind of stream again. Pop, 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 pop. Connecting again. Oh my god, internet's so weird today. Okay. So Mitch agrees that teaching is a vocation indeed, and then Tristan shares our education system is based on the American system, and
We
we should
don't
look
know.
at Finland.
Okay, we're back. We're back, and we're 12. Yes, we hit 10. Just as the computer hiccuped again, we hit actually 10 viewers. Thank you so much for hitting 10 on the episode. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So what's this?
Location. Okay, I lost it.
You're off to the 10. The American system. And that's
Yes.
true though, that especially the shift to K-12 was actually an effort to like align more with international like schools so that our programs are more directly compatible, and in the same way that the shifting of our college academic year is also to shift to align with
Mhm.
sort of the university calendars of other schools in other countries and all these things.
I feel I'm not against such alignments in theory.
In theory,
Because it means now whatever graduates we have, it is recognized to be in a similar pattern of development that others are using.
that's the pro.
Because there has been a lot of times, I remember in the past I'd mentioned that, I graduated and this and that. And they're like, so you guys didn't have grade 7 and like that. And I'm like, no. So how are sure you, so are you really in college, or was that just grade 7 and grade 8? And that sort of thing. So I agree in theory that there is such alignments, but how things are implemented remain sad.
Okay. So kind of going back to the work side, then like going to the uneven sort of I mean, sometimes you get formal training, sometimes you're just buddying up. Then the ball kind of goes back into your court in terms of how then do you continue to further your career? How do you advance your skills? And then there are many ways about it. It's easy to demand or to expect that the company does something, but then this isn't always the reality. And then I think then it's really a question of, then do you still want to stay in this company because you feel like you're not getting the training and development you are hoping for, or do you like everything else about this company, and then maybe the learning and development has to be somewhere else. Like if you want something more formal, structured, something goes on your resume, then you'll have to go around somewhere else.
Mhm.
So and that's like, I guess that's where the next step of adult learning goes, and where mentors probably come in a lot more. First, on the education side, especially now in this pandemic period, we live in this golden age of like, oh my God, everyone and their dog is selling a course on something online,
Mhm.
whether you're looking at Skillshare, Coursera, I don't know, there's so many other programs. Sometimes it's an unlimited subscription and take as many courses as you want. Sometimes you're paying per course, but there's a lot of stuff you can do. And then these are things that you can eventually add to your resume as things you've taken. I mean, your mileage may vary. Like I'm still undecided, like how good is a Coursera course on anything? And like I don't know. As an employer, like I appreciate you've taken the course. I'm not sure what that really translates to into work, but it's something. Recently, I've even seen LinkedIn seems to have implemented their own like little courses and
Yeah.
certifications that. So now you keep seeing LinkedIn updates about, your contact took this test or that assessment or is now certified for this and that, and it's interesting. It's pretty interesting. It's really a question. Oh, Kenny's asking now, what's your experience with masterclass? Masterclass, I feel like, okay, we totally wasted money at least the first year because we didn't watch enough courses. Like we would like watch here and there, but like to really sit down and finish stuff is hard. And then they have very interesting instructors, very different perspectives and approaches to things. Like there's so many writers who have courses now in masterclass, ranging from there's of course Neil Gaiman, but then there's Joyce Carol Oates, there's Amy Tan, there's Malcolm Gladwell, James Patterson, so many different perspectives. And then I think it's just really a question of just sitting down with it, and you can learn from it. It's just still fairly expensive, and then you have to pay upfront. You pay the year ahead of time, so it's a lot of money collected right away instead of like a Netflix where where you pay every month. So how effective is it? It depends on you. It depends on how much time you sit down and like, I'm going to take masterclass courses so that I'm continually learning something. But it's definitely an interesting way to go. Can these courses be as helpful for you on your resume? That I don't know. Like I've never seen a resume where it's like I completed Neil Gaiman's Art of Storytelling on masterclass. It's not a certification. You don't get anything at the end. You don't get a certificate of participation completion. You just have the sense of accomplishment that you've learned something. Is LinkedIn courses are very expensive. Pico shares. I was not aware. Kenny's asked, is Masterclass the only online thing you're subscribed to? At the moment, yeah. I mean, like everything else that I've taken as courses are like work related. So it's a bunch of Google stuff and Facebook stuff for me. And then it really depends on your industry. Like they're not helpful for everyone.
Mhm.
And then you watch a lot of YouTube content.
Yeah. Well, it's always tricky for me because I don't know when to watch the masterclass stuff on my own, or if we're supposed to be watching it. And we do play a lot of stuff on the screen to watch together. So I know there were times I was watching some masterclass stuff while preparing lunch,
Yeah.
and that was sort of the time I tried to squeeze it in. But then even that became hard because if there were meetings, then I couldn't have it playing
Yeah.
because I couldn't have a headset on while cooking either. So there was that, and then um, watching through YouTube in terms of learning for me is because a lot of the stuff on YouTube has been invaluable and free. Um, the game design conferences, when it comes to mobile games and the like, they have a lot of talks that happened, and a lot of these talks are shared online. The ones that are not shared online that I do have access to, I end up watching them privately on my own. So those tend to be either in Google Drive links or in closed collections that we have as part of our resources at work.
Mm.
But beyond those, I've just only had some tangential learning from certain learning management systems because it was part of my research. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like then beyond like that side of education, which I mean, there's still something to explore, and still a lot of things. I keep telling myself that I really wanted to learn to code, like do some more than coding, and then like I've signed up. Technically, I have an account on Code Academy, but I haven't really been diligent about it. And there were like gamified coding like, things out there. That's something. Then I guess it begs the next question of like the shift to like the middle part of this topic, which is like mentoring and mentorship. And how do you go about that? Do you feel like you've had mentors in your career?
In my younger years, there was the semblance of mentors. So going way, 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 way back.
Way.
So
Whoa,
you suddenly share.
James Baxter.
Okay, that's better than share. Um, so one of my first jobs was to do the colors for
I'm trying to stare at the camera more, but then whenever I look at the monitor, I don't look like I'm staring. And then like, is it because I'm looking at the monitor to check if I'm staring at the camera or not?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, go on.
Just
Sorry.
stare at the light. That's the trick.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying. I'm just trying. But when I look like I'm looking off like diagonal. So
So whenever my first earliest jobs was to do colors for Sarangwala magazine, and at that time, Cynthia Balat, my boss and my mom's friend, was the one who was helping me grasp and understand the business. Everything from that's why we have margins when we do this, because when papers cut, then you have to make sure you're within those margins and bleed areas and stuff like that. Beyond Saranggola magazine, my first official job, which was at ABS-CBN International, eventually ABS-CBN Global, as a graphic designer, eventually art director. That's when Beth Sioho and Joey Medjola were my mentors because they were my co-workers, but they were very generous with teaching me stuff every single day as we worked. It was a workplace wherein, we'd be working on something, and then sometimes over lunch, I learned how to do this, and then we'd be talking about it, and it kind of helped that. It was kind of interesting. I think that what helped make that environment happen is the fact we were working on Macs because there was the need to relearn a lot of things.
did you mount your disc?
Stuff like that. And when you have a mouse that has no other buttons, you panic. So they were very much very giving me a very mentorship role at that point. But as I progressed to the game design community and mobile games, that's when I guess it was less of having someone as my mentor, but more someone who was in many ways my cheerleader. That's where James Law was always, I believe you can do this. I can see that you have what it takes to do this job, and he kept insisting that I would be a good fit for that industry. And eventually, when I decided to trust him, it was a great fit. Um, so I sadly don't feel like I have mentors. I currently I can't anyone I can call currently a mentor now. But I do feel in many ways it's because I've now transcended to the point I'm
Bum,
seen as
bum,
mentors by certain people.
bum. Now you're the daddy.
Well,
Well,
well.
um, then what makes you feel that someone becomes a mentor and isn't just your boss? Because there's like a lot of people like misconstrue the two. Like your boss isn't automatically your mentor. I feel
Yes.
not all bosses are like that, and not all bosses need to be
Yes.
that person. I think it takes a certain quality in the same way that we say that teaching is a vocation that requires a certain disposition and personality to decide to go into teaching.
Mhm.
It also takes a certain type of person to be a mentor. So
Yes.
what do you think about that?
I do feel that there's an industry aspect to it.
Hmm.
Certain bosses in certain industries will never be your mentor. They will just be
Your boss.
your boss to make sure you do your job. But then there are jobs wherein the mentoring aspect is present because they see you possibly having a track where you be a leader as well.
Mm.
And in many ways, it's to take their place because they then have to move to a higher level of responsibility or to retire. So that's where I think the mentoring aspect kicks in. When you are entering an industry where your higher ups have an understanding that the work is a cycle, they're not there to lord over forever. Then they understand that the knowledge they have is not something they should covet. It's something that they should share. That those below them can eventually, literally replace them. And many have that fear na parang, "Ba't ko tuturo yan? Edi, hindi na ako kailangan."
Yeah.
When
Which
they
is a
don't,
really bad mindset.
yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's how what I tell also, like our supervisors and other leaders in the company. Sorry, I'm gonna be very workish, but
Mhm.
that you're cultivating people who could, yes, maybe replace you, but then at the same time it frees you up
Yes.
to move up and to take on more responsibilities, different roles, and I think that's what that exchange that comes with mentorship and actually really developing a person to get somewhere. I mean,
Mhm.
I feel like the mentor more than just training the replacement. I mean, that is probably part of it, but then also just taking that long term view, and they see a person and they're able to say, I think you can become this,
Mhm.
and I will help you get there, or like I will try to help you get there if you want to, and then you still have to choose to do it. I've seen some big companies that have been a lot more formal about trying to set up mentors and mentees. And then there are actually online corporate solutions that like index everyone's skills. And then let's say I want to develop in this area,
Who will be the person?
and they'll try to align you and mix and match you with a mentor, a potential mentor in the company, which is interesting when you codify it that way. But sometimes it feels a little forced, a little too structured.
Yeah.
It just means you're going to email this person once a week. I don't
I
know.
feel though that those are still tools
Yeah,
and
yeah.
aren't the be all in identifying mentors. I think they just help you see who are possible mentors. But again, mentorship is still a reflection more of the person's perspective on what skills are and what the person's role in the company tends to be. Pico shares a good boss for me is not afraid of his job getting taken over.
That's
Exactly.
true.
And I think that's the oddest thing about many bosses that
It's sad because you set up you inadvertently set up an adversarial
Yes.
relationship with your own subordinates,
And-
with your team.
and
It's
even
like-
worse, that is present in how they view success.
Yeah,
It's not a, you guys did great, I'm happy for you. It's, ang galing ng team ko, and, suddenly the team isn't feeling the happiness because the leader's claiming it all for themselves. And while I understand the dynamic is you all succeeded, you have to, as a mentor, acknowledge when people did great because they need to feel that what they did was worth it. They need to feel that appreciation.
Mhm. And then there are some that I feel like, I mean, we're more likely to meet a mentor type character in your current
Mhm.
work context. It's probably going to be someone at the office. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's a parallel manager. Maybe it's a skip level manager
Mhm.
um, that helps you. That's one. But then I think it. Then if you're lucky, it may cross over to a point that even if you leave the company, you still stay in touch with these people, and then
Yes.
they're still giving you advice as like your career develops. And then that's like I feel like wow, that's like super lucky. Then you really found yourself like a good friend, a really good mentor
Mhm.
that that will be in your life for the long haul. And it takes a certain kind of thing. And I feel kind of guilty in this regard because like I was in the BPO industry for like 12 years, but
Mhm.
then like I've largely at this point walked away from most
Mhm.
of those relationships, or like I barely talk to them now, and they're like as remote and distant as some of my schoolmates. So I didn't quite have that. There were a few bosses I really enjoyed working with, and I learned a lot from. But then I don't know if I really would say that we went to the level of like, ooh, they're mentors, and like I,
Mhm.
I would still continue to want to seek out their advice over time. And who knows, and then sometimes it's not even immediate. You may actually look back in hindsight at some of your previous supervisors, managers, whatnot,
Mhm.
and then you decide that you'd want to hear from them again, and maybe you can foster a new mentorship relationship after many years after you've actually stopped working together, and that's totally possible.
So my shares, it's rare to find bosses, leaders who are very giving with information and growth of a subordinate. Not all bosses are mentors. Um,
Yeah, Tristan said something similar that a good boss is a mentor and coach and not just a
mm,
manager, which is like common leadership training parlance, but it's like very true though. And I think that's like the message that we're always trying to reinforce within our respective companies.
and then I get sad when I encounter there are some who have the perspective that mentoring is a bad thing because they feel mentoring implies that you are better than me and my attempts are not as valid. And I find that to be such a terrible perspective to view the sharing of knowledge.
Hmm.
And I get that it sometimes comes from a place where you do there are instances where a person might try to explore their own path and they are met instead with ridicule or put downs, why are you doing that? That's a stupid thing to do, rather than more constructive criticism. And that can lead to this mistrust of seeing people as why are you better than me, when we all make mistakes. So I hate it when there are those type of perspectives because um, it's scary how this desire to be recognized for your efforts can be misconstrued as people trying to help me are just putting me down because they think they're better than me.
Hmm. And I think I've seen similar like behavior, especially in the BPO, in my years in BPO, and it's also because a lot of times you have a lot of team leaders who are promoted from within. So they
Mm.
used to be agents, and then they get promoted to handle their own teams. And inadvertently, the initial message, especially for like very performance-driven campaigns, is that they think they're the shiznit, and then they want to be able to demonstrate that they're the shiznit on a new level, and they make the mistake of um, in that sense still competing with their people, and you'll see certain new team leaders constantly taking over calls, closing sales for their agents, or that sort of a thing. When the skill of a good team leader is not in their ability to take over calls, but to train his entire or her entire team to be able to handle that call well in
Mhm.
that manner, and it takes a certain maturity of perspective to appreciate that. Oh, okay, that's the mindset. It's not because I'm the best. It's because they also saw the potential that you can be a leader
Mhm.
and impart those skills. But it's hard to say sometimes because a lot of times, especially in sales environments and other things with like very quantifiable metric cards, the assumption is that if you were hitting your metrics consistently, then therefore you must be able to teach other people this. But
Mhm.
that's not automatic. An individual performer is not always someone who can transfer those skills to other people. So it's always tricky. And you can't blame them also at times. A lot of times first time supervisors get very little development and support themselves when by right their career also needs nurturing, mentorship and development. They
Mhm.
need help. They need the skills to become better leaders, and it's hard to figure that out. It's hard to figure it out when you're always like chasing after the company's bottom line, getting things
Mhm.
done. It's
Because the
hard.
reality of the challenge is, in as much as we would like to share our knowledge, or in as much as we'd like to learn as we work, um, it's still a business. The bottom
Yeah,
line is the money still has to come in, because if that stops, then the business stops. And no matter how good a mentor you are to the people, if the company has to close, it will close. So you have to find that balance of maintaining all these things, but at the same time making sure the bottom line does not suffer. So that's where the tricky part happens, because maybe you want them to learn from their mistakes, but then you can't have them learn from their mistakes in a way that affects the bottom line and the deadline.
hmm
If that causes you to miss a certain requirement and the client gets angry, then that was still a bad way to let them learn.
yeah, yeah. So it's a, I mean, case to case basis. All that your mileage will vary.
Mhm.
I am concerned that this week I feel like I keep saying your mileage will vary. Anyway,
Well, you could say your kilometers, maybe, right?
oh wow, let's go metric. Okay. Um,
Your parsecs. Let's go.
Thank
Servers.
you. Okay.
Uh,
That's one approach to it, and
mhm.
it's hard though because training. I mean, I think everybody, regardless of like your level in a company, will always agree that coaching, development, training, mentorship, whatnot are important things. Naturally, they want people to gain more skills. They just don't know when that's going to happen because we also have to get this list of 20 million things done for the clients,
Mhm.
and how do we balance that with also finding time for development?
So my shares, teaching is a skill. Just knowing something doesn't mean you can teach it well.
Yes.
Yes, very true. And in fact, I would even add, just knowing how to teach doesn't mean you teach it well. Because there are people who know the basics of teaching and sharing knowledge, but still do it in such a frustrating way. There's another statement there.
Yeah, Tristan says mentoring is how company values and culture are passed on, not just skills, and that's very important too. And then like when you talk about what your company values are, I mean, it's uh, it's not always easy. There are a lot of companies that like the company values just feel like something you see on the company about
Mm.
page, and then do you really live and breathe it? The next level is, well, at least there are posters about it on the company premises, but then that doesn't really imbue it. Then how
Mm.
do you really do that? And that kind of cultural defining of culture and that sort of knowledge transfer really best happens on an interpersonal level, in my opinion. And then it's but yeah, how to go around it? It's always hard. It's like, do you make everybody attend the standardized training on company culture and values? And is that enough, or do you not actually do it in a classroom setting and you do it more through um, internal competitions, contests, like let's nominate the
Hey,
most,
Noel.
the person who best personifies our company values this month, or there are different ways to go about it. And I think it really also needs to tie into the kind of company culture that is present, and like how you want to do things and how formal you are. Yeah. And I guess I put it in that context because then like for a very long time I was in BPO, and BPO is like super corporate. It's the
Mm.
same thing, like this is our mission, our vision, our company values. We got the posters on the wall and
Mm.
all that things. I had to design, the sort of onboarding training for new people, that this is, this when you come on board, you get your handbook. It reminds you what the values are, and things like that. And then all the more that you have to do it because it's on some ISO checklist. It's
Mm.
on some COPC thing that do people know your company values are, and it's you're determined to get the checkbox when you're audited. But then now that I moved to like I'm in my own company, it's a smaller company. We're trying to be not so corporate. I'm trying to be a lot more, uh, you know, we're trying to be efficient and
Mhm.
still process oriented, but also be a lot more human and organic. And it's a tricky balancing act. And uh, I don't have a perfect answer, but I feel a lot happier now than I used to in corporate. So
Do you feel though that corporate is a bad word?
not necessarily. I think you will still learn a lot from the corporate world.
Mhm.
There's a reason why they are the big companies,
Yes.
why they scale in that manner. It's a good starting point. It's a good perspective. Some people will flourish and thrive in a corporate
Yes.
environment, and that's not a problem. And then others um, can use that knowledge then to decide that maybe they want to go a different way. Then they get out of corporate and into their, whether they go into smaller companies, their own company, to NGO work, to social enterprises as they're called in Singapore.
Mhm.
Then that's valid too. And but I think that there's nothing wrong with starting corporate. It's a good it's a good training ground. It's a good experience point that you understand, like, this is how it can be, and then you decide if you want to or not. Because I find it's harder if you jump into entrepreneurship. There are some people who are naturally gifted at this, and then they will their first company is going to be awesome and good for you. But then I think most people are not built for that,
Mhm.
and then they don't get to fully appreciate what they're getting in that kind of a setup, and maybe they need to go corporate first. But that's me. Answer your own question. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think um, there are industries that really require corporate
Hmm.
because there are industries wherein, um, as much as I love the fact that we are from more creative companies, which then celebrate a bit more creativity, a bit more spontaneity,
Yeah.
some businesses really should focus on things directly because if you delay things with that, you lose your way.
Hmm.
Um, Others might not necessarily be an industry that requires corporate in that manner, but still requires sections of it to be in that manner. For example, um, I always feel a bit weird if the HR department is too friendly because it feels they're not going to be as serious when it comes to matters. And I
That's an interesting
and
perspective.
it's an angle which I think um, there's a certain timpla that has to be present because I remember in ABS-CBN years back, as much as I loved working there, um, the HR people had this. So there were the very corporate HR people
Okay.
who we tend to talk to for papers, for the forms and
The
approvals,
generalists.
and then there were the other HR people who were very friendly, mabibo, and
employee
all that.
relations.
And we always found it hard to approach those people for any problems.
Hmm.
We didn't mind them when they were like, okay, team building and blah blah blah. But then when they say there's a problem or there's this person we feel who was a bit too harsh and we want to raise a complaint about it, we never felt we could trust talking to them.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
So it was a perspective which maybe it was just a personal thing, but that's one thing that I noticed.
I mean, personally, yeah, I mean, like, and this is like not super related to the main topic, but then I would say that I feel like the best HR people are the types that everyone thinks that is their friend, but is not on anyone's side,
Yes.
which is hard to achieve because HR needs to be approachable, but at the same time, they should not necessarily appear partisan in that
Mhm.
regard. But then ultimately, HR, of course, must represent the interests of the company to some degree.
And I think that's it. Because
Yeah.
since they were like super friendly, you kind of felt they were so friendly. They were putting up a face.
and they're
Even-
buttering you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was that sort of a situation.
So Noel says that to be honest, he learned a lot more working at a startup, but he appreciates his corporate experience, and I get that. And then Pico also says that being in a startup company in the past, which implements too much processes, it ended up closing quite early. I mean, it sometimes it's hard, and there's a lot of times that, like, you're a small company, but you have the processes copied because of everyone's previous corporate experience, and it doesn't immediately translate well, and you have to find creative solutions. I find that, like personally, like, we've always been the dilemma of job titles, and like,
Mm.
when you're a small company, how many titles do you need?
Mhm.
But at the same time, you can't blame people for like wanting to feel like there's movement, and
Yeah.
promotion with titles feels important. And then how do you balance that out without creating a gazillion layers in your moderate sized company?
Yes.
So it's tricky.
My also shares, I realized how lucky I was with the training I got from the BPO and how it changed my perspective and continuous learning.
I feel that too. I mean, like, I'm a very introverted person, but I got started in a sales program in a call center. And so I had to learn sales. And then, funnier, later on, I became a trainer, and then I would train customer service and sales and customer service as
Mhm.
which is a whole different world. And it felt weird, but then, like, I don't regret the knowledge I gained, my understanding of it. But then I have weird things like I know way too much about the American telecommunications industry's history, and I have nowhere to use this information. Like, I know how AT&T started everything, and then they were forced into divestiture and then trivestiture.
You
The
know, you know
1996
where you can use that?
Telecommunications Act.
You know where you can use that?
Where?
Write a novel.
No, it's a terrible
But give it a
novel.
Dan Brown twist.
Oh, you're just insulting me
What if
now.
BPOs were actually some secret cult?
No.
Baby prophet offices.
Oh my god.
Mitch also shares, I agree on the Timpla. There should be a structure of respect within the team, even if it's a friendly atmosphere and respect is there. Mitch also shares, a company culture of fear is not healthy.
Ooh, that's definitely not. That's
Stress-oo.
bad.
My, of course, while I lols, Mitch adds the management style of XYZ.
Yeah, let's not give specific examples. We gotta protect, everyone.
My races, however, the difficulty in a startup is wearing multiple hats.
Yeah, and that's why I always say that whether startups or entrepreneurship is not for everyone. It also takes a certain mindset. I feel like when you want to get into a startup, then you should be prepared for, like, it's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of potential for growth and movement and really staking a claim. But then you also have to be flexible, and you can't just be content to be a 9 to 5 employee that I only do exactly what I'm told to do. And when I clock out at the end of the day, then my day's over and I stop working. So it's not going to happen in that sort of fast paced environment. And
But-
it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just the nature of things.
But then there is that tricky transition from startup to a larger, fuller company. Because then people are expected to have specific roles and specific responsibilities. And there might be some people who are still viewing it as a startup and be like, no, no, you should be able to do this and that. And you're like, no, that's not under my scope of work. So that's sometimes the challenge when you are in a place that's still transitioning. There's a need to be a bit more open-minded, but at the same time, not too close-minded that you will be more a detriment than a help to the company.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that sort of transition, like, at work, because we started very small,
Mhm.
and then we just had a handful of employees, and we've grown steadily over the years. But then every now and then we get into these little hiccups of growing pains. Of now that we have this many people, then it's like then we need more processes. But then how to get the processes rolled out to people when so many people are independent and used to doing things
Yes.
in a certain way, and it's like it's that back and forth. But we're trying to keep into our more agile culture of being a smaller company, but then also recognizing as you grow, organization and systemization of things is also important, and it's a hard balancing act.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, so it really depends. And wow, we're talking about many big things. Okay, so um, uh,
So Mitch does add structure is needed in reference to Noel's comment. Noel added starting to transition na in a bit, but still wanting to retain that startup vibe. Very true, because it gets very comfortable to have that startup vibe we're in. We're all in this together. We're all
Woohoo.
multitasking. We're all because you feel you are literally part of the company. You feel
you
were
feel very
there
active
from its
yeah.
inception. You
Very
felt
integral.
yeah. So so it's just like when you raise a child and you were there the whole time, but your kid now has to get married. Your kid now has to have their own family.
What an analogy! I don't know if I agree with this use of this analogy, but okay.
So certain things have to change, but you're still a family. Just it's going to be different now.
And then I think all the more, whether it's a big company or a startup, but yeah, as you get through these points and you change and you evolve, then it also the robustness of your internal, training and development, whether it is something as formal as everybody goes to class, or as informal as like you have mentorship and sort of peer coaching and whatnot. But those systems are what will help your company survive into that transition into whatever your next form may be, that you have to invest the time and the effort and the resources into helping people pivot. And there will be people who may not be able to make the transition with you, and it's sad. But as much as possible, you don't want to leave anyone behind, and it's your responsibility as an organization to kind of figure out that path.
So we are now pretty much clocking 1 hour. Since Noel also arrived late, I think it's now a good time to have a 15-second break.
You just want to play the thing
Yes,
again.
play the
You just
thing
want to
again.
play the thing.
Play the
again.
thing again. Noel, wait till you see that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people who didn't see the thing. We're gonna show the thing.
So we'll just have a 15-second break. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah! Fully drive!
And we're back. That was our 15-second break.
This is the third time we played this video today. I don't think we're gonna get tired of playing it. So such fun. Such fun.
I'm so proud of it.
I don't know if we're gonna put it on YouTube and like just leave it up there, right? So it's thank you, Mitch. Thank you so much, Mitch. Okay.
Oh my gosh. So yeah. Oh yeah. I love it. Oh my gosh. Hey Nick! Oh my gosh, Nick just missed it.
Are we gonna play it again for Nick? We have to play it again for Nick, I guess. Nick, you missed the thing.
But Nick's gonna judge us because Nick does it.
That's fine. Nick can be judgy if he wants to.
Okay,
be.
Nick, this next 15 seconds are for you because you haven't seen it and everyone else has.
Oh yeah! Fully drive!
And we're back!
Oops, I have to put the caption back. Okay.
Once again, special thanks to Mitch who made that intro possible. It was her voice, it was her music, it was her research skills that allowed us to get to that point. Thank you so much, Mitch.
Yay. Happy episode 200. We got a thing. Oh my god. Okay. So, I don't know how do we wrap this up?
Well, we haven't gotten into apprenticeship.
I thought we indirectly went through that because of like, I mean, when you look for a mentor,
Yes.
doesn't that make you the apprentice?
I think there are times when it doesn't work that way
Okay.
because apprenticeship sometimes is more you are expected to learn through osmosis and the people are not teaching you directly.
I guess, but
they
that's kind of sad though.
but but at the same time they also understand your performance levels won't be that high because you are an apprentice, you are learning. So my closest experience to that was when I was a director's apprentice for a very very short time at GMA. So it was part of this show we're in as the director's apprentice. I was literally hovering around him every time there were meetings and all this and that. I was never given direct work to handle, but it was a lot of in-depth insight on why certain decisions were made and this and that. It was almost like a documentary wherein he'll be talking to the cast, blah blah blah, do this and that, camera there, blah blah blah, and then he looks at me. Now, ganyan na ginawa ko kasi pag yun ang ginaya.
Well, that's nice though.
And then he'd move on, and I'd be like, oh, okay, and I was keeping notes and stuff. And then there were other times he wouldn't even talk to me anymore. But then later on, if I had questions, I could go to him and ask. So it there was that level of, watch me and learn because you're the apprentice. But it was never like a mentoring or a teaching moment.
And I think conventionally, I mean, if we try to translate that to your more typical like company setups, and the closest thing we get to that is, in theory, how internships
Yes.
should work, right?
Yeah.
And I've had this similar conversation with friends or peers or colleagues who are trying to shift into different industries that are
Mhm.
outside their current skill set or are not reflected by the jobs they currently been holding. And then it takes it takes a certain humility to accept that if you really want to shift to a completely different
Mhm.
industry, you may have to, one, start low on the totem pole because you need to learn again. And then two is like figure out though how you're going to learn it. And
Mhm.
whether we like it or not, a lot of companies are going to be like, I need the skills first before I can hire you. So some form of apprenticeship is valuable in gaining experience
Mhm.
and building up that chain. And that's, I always feel that way about what's this? There are a lot of people that always concern me slightly when I'm interviewing for
Mhm.
positions, and then they'll tell me like, why are you looking for this job? And then like, I want to learn. It's like in call centers, you get a lot of people who apply for call centers, and then one of the things they'll say is like, why, when you ask them why they're applying, I want to learn better English,
Mhm.
and like, that's not what this is.
Not,
Sorry, it's a
yeah.
job,
Mhm.
and we need people who speak English. I can't really afford for you to learn, and I know that's the best way to say it.
Sorry. So Nick and Mitch are now planning for a
365.
collab for 365.
Oh my god,
We would love to
that
see
could
that.
be interesting.
We will wait for that. What else?
So it's hard, and it's
Mhm.
the same way. Like we get a lot of people who complain that there are a lot of jobs that claim to be entry level, but they expect a certain amount of skills that can only happen if you've worked. And
Mhm.
I agree that there are problems with some of the way that these job openings are posted, and
Mhm.
it's not necessarily fair to the applicant. But then on the flip side, there are a lot of specialized industries, and then the only way to go about it is to get yourself into unpaid work or freelance work in that field. But I feel like the unpaid internships, or well, not unpaid, but like moderately compensated, like you probably have an allowance for food or something,
Mhm.
can still be helpful depending on the company. Because I always say, ideally, that's how internships should work. Because a lot of times internships are extra labor.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's staff augmentation without permanently
Mhm.
changing your headcount.
Although I feel, and this is a personal opinion and not the reflection of any companies
Oh,
I have
yeah.
worked with,
Same. Yeah.
there's a part of me that always feels that I'm happier if the internship did have actual labor. Only because, well, in my case, there are horror stories of internships being taga-timpla ng kape,
Yeah, you don't want
taga-kuha
that,
ng
right?
dyaryo.
And you see that in media a lot.
Yes.
Not just local, but even Western media.
So-
they always depict the interns as
Assistants.
the peons.
And that's why I always wondered, is that why they're called interns? Because they're like keys. You put it in, then you turn it. But the interns get a chance to slip in and experience what the workload is like, and not just the workload for the industry they want to be in, but of that specific company as well.
Mhm.
So in many ways, an internship is actually you having a trial run with the company where you might want to work
Yes.
without having to necessarily pass the recruitment process. Although some internships
There's
do
still
have
interviews.
yeah, a
I
certain
think
level of
they
interview.
want to get like culture fit and whatnot.
Exactly. But and if you have that perspective, then having being an intern and having to do actual work, that's for me awesome because that might mean you might be a fresh grad and suddenly you're already working on a big project,
Yes.
and you still do get to leave and go, I worked on a blank project with that brand.
I was part of the team.
Yes, and that's fantastic. That makes you feel, that's a great feeling of achievement. That's a lot of mileage. And if you're smart and applying for a job, that's a perfect segue to talk about what you learned, what you're good at, and what oh, I realized I still need to do this better, but I'm working on it. And that's a big plus for people who are listening to the interview.
Yeah, Noel cites that startup companies always welcome working interns, and I'm sure then it's also a great way to find talent and kind of test them out. Because as much as we all have our own like recruitment and hiring processes, but the interview and no matter how many tests you design will never help you fully determine if a person is a good fit for the job. And sometimes internships are a lot more interesting because you get to work with new talent, and
Yes.
then if it really works out that by the end of the internship you might get offered a permanent position,
Yes.
then that's pretty cool. So
Mhm.
who could say? Oh, Kenny has a long statement that he's very lucky in his internship experience. Aside from having a hands-on teaching experience, until this day, the name and the work I've done for the company still lands me projects and jobs. That's good. I mean, like, I feel like there's still more good examples of internships that like are super useful for you.
Mhm.
And I say this only because like in the past, my company's been doing a lot of interviews for hiring, and we're talking to I shouldn't label it, but I can't help but like you'll end up saying, "Ooh, COVID graduates." The
Yeah.
people who graduated starting
Yeah.
2020 and then who have had a very difficult time on the job market because quarantines and restrictions on movement have not really allowed them places of work.
Mhm.
More often than not, they've probably only had their internship, if at all,
Mhm.
and then some contract work, whether freelance or just a short term engagement. But there's a lot of interesting young talent out there now that are eager to start working formally, but of course, the current situation complicates things to say the
Mhm.
least. Um,
Kenny adds, I highly suggest to college seniors to take their internship serious and also invest on a good company.
that's true because there are some people that I mean you can't help it because when you think about all the different requirements you have for school, then you have to do this internship and it's like one more thing. Then sometimes you end up like just wanting to half-ass it and like I just want to get it done and like you want the kind of internship where you clock in and clock out and you're good for the day, and all these. So Tristan shares that as an intern, you also get to build your professional network. That's true, and it seems silly, but no, it's like your professional network is very important, and that's why your LinkedIn account is like
Mhm.
important in that regard, and you can build. It will help you get a leg up later on.
Mhm.
Um, and we all leverage our professional network in different ways. Like I totally like have cases where I see someone applying but I see that I'm connected on LinkedIn through mutual friends and I'm still kind of close enough. I may still reach out and like, hey, what can you tell me about this person? And
Let's reshare Noel's comment.
oh, okay, let's do that. Hi, Noel. I see that you are sharing that Transportify is hiring. This is JobStreet
You
and
can leave it.
LinkedIn
You can leave it
for
on for a few
positions.
seconds.
Have you thought about? Have you tried Caliber? Caliber's interesting too. They're cheaper than JobStreet. They try to be more app forward, and then they were longer in the model of you have an unlimited or you have a subscription where you have like 3 job posts active simultaneously and then unlimited applications, and then it's like 3 months, 6 months, whatnot contract. It kind of helps. I know JobStreet's copied the same thing. I'm so sorry. I'm being very corporate.
That's
but-
okay. Let's share Mice as well, which is an awesome offer for those out there who might be looking for some other sideline.
Ooh, Mai says she may need an intern soon. Who would like to intern with
There,
Mai?
the next one, the next one. She has a second statement on what it's about. There, sa baba.
Who wants to work on dubbing? Pum pum pum. Voice work. Interesting.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
not? Oh yeah. Any other people need to plug stuff? Let's help. Baduy Pride networking. Baduy Pride corporate on a Sunday night. Okay. Yeah. So there's that. So I mean, like, so as much as there are horror stories about internships, I think there's a lot more great experiences with internships. But yes, I agree. Don't. I mean, take them seriously. Learn as much as you can. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. You're still learning about how the corporate world works, and you're also learning that maybe that is the sort of company you don't want to work for. That's still valuable knowledge to gain without the obligation of like you're locked into I don't know training bonds and whatnot and
Yes.
other corporate rigmarole. Okay. Um. Okay, but the bright job market. Caliber and Indeed. Ooh, I like that. Are we back?
Oh
I think we're back now. Um,
yeah. Yeah, I think we're back. I think you guys can see us. But yes,
Restream's been weird all week. I swear to dog. It's like I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry, guys.
should we
So
start looking for alternatives? No, I don't know.
it's like StreamYard. Yung ginagawa na.
Yeah, but they quit StreamYard too.
I don't
So
like StreamYard.
I mean, the last is we go OBS or something. I don't know.
No, but you'd still need to connect to something, and so I'm gonna file a ticket. Okay, okay. So, all right. So I see a lot of people connecting and networking about this voice work stuff. That's great. Welcome to the Baduy Pride job market. And then, yeah, I was just saying that at least I like our HRIS portal connects, and then when we post a job which appears on the company website, then it can automatically reshare to Indeed and I think Glassdoor, and then I get a lot of Indeed applications. I'm surprised because I've never used Indeed directly. So wow, okay, that's cool. Um, yes, okay.
Mhm.
So okay, so I guess that kind of at least broadly covers each of the three areas on teaching, mentoring, and apprenticing. So what do we want to? How do we want to wrap things up? Um, Wait, on the job market perspective, if we are still doing shameless plugging, uh, our digital agency is looking for. We're still trying to hire at least a copywriter, a digital designer,
Yeah,
an
dami niche.
animator. Um, I think we're going to make our selection already for social media specialist. I may need someone who does paid media also. So things like that. That's just letting you know, just letting you know. But yeah, it's like my priorities are that copywriter, digital designer, and animator.
Mm.
Okay, and then yes, Nikki, thank you so much for regularly resharing all my job posts. Thank you so much. I don't know. I haven't paid attention if anyone said that you referred them, so that would be funny to see.
Mhm.
But we're kind of working that through. No, Nikki, we're the other positions have still like been going on. So like my copywriter thing hasn't been filled yet.
Mhm.
Designer, kasi we decided we needed at least one more, at most two. But then the animator is the hardest one to fill. It's super super hard. Because skill set may vary. A lot of people are more like live video post prod experience and not necessarily motion graphics animation. And then there are some motion graphics people that okay, I think this guy's probably actually creative director level given
Mhm.
his asking rate, and I don't think I can afford you. So we can't have that conversation. It's tricky. Noel's opening in Cebu. Oh my God, they need Cebuanos. Wow, good job, good job.
Why did that sound Mexican?
Wow, Cebuanos. Hello. Okay, okay.
Oh my god. So
No, I can't play it now.
okay, we'll look into that.
Okay, okay. There's contributions into like possible things to add to the
Outro.
may outro na ba? Oh my god. Okay. Okay. So I guess we now have a new topic suggestion of the Baduy Pride job market. And like how do we if you have things to plug in our circles, then we can share later on.
Mhm.
Okay, that's something. What else? What else? So I guess lastly for me is that uh, your career should be about well I think at some point in life you will realize that your career is more about doing what you're told to do
Mhm.
but also developing your skills in your chosen career path and nourishing it and there is no specific period where you have to do this. I know there are some people, for example, that start as call center agents on the phones and 10 years later are still perfectly happy to be on the
Yes,
phone
that's
because there sometimes you only want a certain level of responsibility and obligation that you don't have to think, and then your day ends precisely on time and then you don't want to go then
You're comfortable.
yeah, and that's not a bad thing. And if your needs are met and you're feeling fulfilled, then that's fine. But I think sooner or later everybody will want to like grow into other things, whether it is within your current career track, or expanding or switching to other career tracks and realizing, oh my God, my life is a lie, I want to do something else. Then things, whether it is self study, enrolling in school, finding a mentor, becoming an apprentice to someone in that field that you're trying to grow in, all of these are valuable strategies to grow and to take your career to that next level. It's really about investing in yourself, and it's super, super important. And um, it is never easy because you will need to find the time to do it, whether you're going to juggle it alongside your current job, or it means you'll risk living off your savings for a while you work on your skills development because you don't think you can study and work at the same time. There are different paths to it. But don't regret it. Persevere, and I think it will pay off in the long run. Okay.
Mhm.
What else? What else were you gonna say? Oh, Mitch has a nice comment. Growth can go three ways: horizontal, vertical, or like stairs, wave, which is venturing into other skills. Basta have fun.
Mhm.
And I think that's it. Like, as long as you still feel generally fulfilled about what you're doing, then that's good. That's good.
Noel definitely says to build your network and LinkedIn profile. I think a large part is also to always, pay attention to the environment around you. If you're part of an industry that has a lot of activities, for example, in the game industry, there's a lot of game jams, there's a lot of programming events. Then participate, or if not participate, try to support them because you might be surprised how much smaller industries tend to be. And people do talk. And if they know you to be horrible in one side, then the others most
Yes.
likely have heard of it as well. So when it comes to teaching, mentoring, and apprenticing, um, don't be surprised if you find out that someone already sees you as their mentor, or if someone
Mm,
hopes that you will, allow them to learn from you, because there is never a clear sign when you've made that transition. There isn't any glow that suddenly surrounds you when it goes up. You are now mentor material.
now you're the daddy. Mai says learning is fun and always keep learning. That's
Mm,
true. And then like whether
yes.
whether whatever path you decide to go through. And that I think that's what we're enjoying tangentially about the masterclass thing, the masterclass program as we stuck around with it. As much as there's like serious stuff about it, because I really want to fix my writing. And then there's like a lot of corporate stuff.
Mhm.
But then there's things like magic that Toby has taken the course by Ben and Deller. There's cooking courses. I think masterclass is less a corporate tool and really more like an all around like what do you want to learn and then like and then go for it. But if you decide to take the plunge first, examine their YouTube, I guess, and look at all the trailers of the courses that are there because that's literally all there is. Every course that they have has a trailer, and if you don't like any of those, then don't do it. Don't do it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Very true.
Um. Other comments.
My light aura with angelic humming when you become a mentor.
Kasi may apprenticing. Okay. Teach yourself. Always be open to learning, even if you feel you have the most experience. There's always something to learn. Pa Noel says that is true. Don't always be humble enough to recognize there is something else to learn. That there's always a new thing. Especially like it's for certain industries. Like we work in digital marketing. I work in digital marketing, and oh my god, it's constantly changing. It's
Mhm.
like so when we're telling people when we're interviewing people, it's really like we need people who are learn quickly, who stay committed to learning trends, who think on their feet and can and adapt quickly to like the changing environment.
Mhm.
Just this morning, because Toby was listening to stuff before his talk on mobile game design. It was talking about the stats of the industry over COVID, and then I was talking about the impact of iOS 14
Mhm.
on media and ads meant for apps and
Yeah.
how that's probably going to impact the game industry in
Yeah.
the coming year. And so there's a lot of like if you're not learning, if you're not paying attention to what's going on, then you're going to get left behind, and you will stop growing as an individual.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I think that's one way also to identify How do you know if you have a bad boss when they feel like they can't learn anything new? You know, when they
That's
feel like
one.
they've already learned everything they
That's one
have to
flag.
learn,
Okay.
that's a red flag.
Oof, scrolling back. Wait, a lot of people said stuff. So Mitch says there's a sense of fulfillment if you see the person you help mentor succeed to a different level of fulfillment. That's true. Nikki's like, oh, I told you that I declined several attempts of promotion at work because ayoko mag-mentor ng junior. That's fair. I think we talked about
Yeah.
earlier. Like there are some people who just want to be individual contributors and not
Mhm.
be responsible for people, which is like fair. If you don't think you're going to be good at it, then you can politely tell your boss that you're not ready. Because again, like I think Mai stressed it earlier, that not everybody who knows a skill can teach a certain
Mhm.
skill or is comfortable with teaching or mentoring, and that's okay. It's a calling. It's a calling. Noel, every time Google changes the algorithm, yes, and all these things.
Yung privacy and data tracking apps.
Yep, that's iOS 14's impact.
Nick does add, because I was more interested and focused on expanding my skills, and also I don't like being responsible for other people's output.
That's fair, and
That's
and we have people like that who don't want to get promoted into a leadership role, which is fine. But then it just also it creates this weird challenge for the company. Then, but I want to continue to recognize your work. But then, how can I recognize you when my next tier is a leadership tier? And what do we do?
There's always that fear that the employee might feel like they're not being recognized for their efforts anymore because you like left them stuck in that level.
Mm-mm.
So sometimes it's a matter of both sides just having to realize, so you're okay there. We don't have to raise you.
Yeah, but-
I'm okay here.
but
I
you have
prefer
to-
stay here.
But you have to understand the risks of staying there.
Yes.
And this is like I always tell people, like when it comes to merit increases, when these are or the annual increase,
Yeah.
number one, it's not required. Like a company can choose whether or not to do this. And then number two, a merit increase is normally bound by certain limitations of the company. It's normally trying to keep pace with the cost of inflation.
Yes.
It's typically between 1 to 3% of your current pay. It's not meant to be big. And then if you're going to complain that you're not getting paid enough, but you don't want to take on more responsibilities or you don't want to get promoted to that other level, then the company doesn't really have much recourse
Yes.
for you, and you're going to get stuck in this cycle of 1 to 3% increases only.
Mhm.
Whereas it's only with promotions that they can really jump you like 10, 20%,
Yeah.
whatever, because you're probably going to a different salary band or job grade, and then you just need to think about it and what is really your priority and what's holding you back.
Yes, we had that conversation. They created a new position for me. Ang taray.
Yeah, and that
That also shows how much they value you.
yeah, that's true. Okay. I'm also constantly trying not to be given more responsibilities, but can't turn away from a gap that needs filling. And that really just feeds to your personal sense of responsibility and, your maybe it's to some degree your investment also in the company's success or the project success. And that's not a bad thing. It's a
So-
good trait.
So this early, I'm now telling all of you viewers, we will not be having an episode on retirement anytime soon.
We have no experience in this area. Literally, my parents are still working.
We are not going to talk about that. We cannot talk about that as of yet.
Don't suggest. Yeah. And then, but maybe one day in Baduy Pride episode 1000, let's talk about retirement.
By that time, we have, I'm now replacing Rocky, and I'm now replacing Toby.
Oh my God.
And we're like, they're watching in the background.
We've mentored and developed other people to handle the show. Yeah. Okay. I think that's about it. Unless there's anything else we can talk about this subject.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anything left we can squeeze out of it. I'm already just saying in advance, thank you, Nick and Mitch, for the preview. We cannot play it yet, but we will listen to it later. I was thinking, should we have a on-screen reaction without anyone hearing what we're hearing? But no.
No. We gotta workshop this,
Yeah, we'll listen to it. We'll give it the proper attention, and we can't wait to see how that'll turn out.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's it. As far as teaching, mentoring, and apprenticing is concerned, we covered pretty much everything. Oh, okay. I have my closing question.
Oh, okay, sure.
I have my closing question. Who would be your top fictional or pop culture mentors?
Oh,
No one in Dune.
they're scary. They're
Yeah,
very
but
scary.
wouldn't you want like the Reverend Mother to like teach you accounting? Well, this is the box.
Why accounting?
This is the box. What is inside of the box? Debits.
Sige nga, who's yours?
Mentor.
Menta! Mine's mind
Hmm.
blown.
Mentor in popular culture. See, now I'm thinking, was there a good mentor in popular culture we could think of? Because Visionaries had a terrible mentor.
Merlin was a dick.
um,
Merlin was not a good mentor.
um,
Nikki
She-Ra.
says Gandalf. Okay, that's cool.
Was Gandalf a mentor though?
There's a lot more stuff in the books about what he would do and like his little conversations. But he has great tips like a wizard is never late, you know. I guess that works. Mai says Picard. Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Captain Picard,
Hmm.
later Admiral.
Yeah, not so much Janeway.
Why not? Don't you like coffee in that nebula?
But was Janeway a mentor? Wasn't Janeway just I'll do this and
Janeway is not
You're-
a mentor. Janeway is mommy.
yes,
And we don't like it when mommy and daddy fight.
and as far as Janeway is concerned, everyone's the apprentice. Learn when you follow me. I will not stop to teach you.
Oh, Nikki now says Professor Xavier. So then are we just saying Patrick Stewart? Between Picard and Xavier, do we just want Patrick Stewart to be our mentor? Hmm. I mean, okay, if I really try to think about it, what's this? Probably not like in a real world, like it's not realistic perspective. But whenever I go back to the Dune books, I actually pay a lot of attention, even though he's mainly in like one book and a bunch of quotes, to Leto the Second, who becomes the God Emperor and God Emperor of Dune. It's very scary. It's a very difficult path, but then he is really like the harsh teacher of humanity. So there's that. Maybe some incarnations of the Doctor. Maybe I don't know. I mean, like he lives a very chaotic life, but then he also has had a lot to teach people and about the importance of
I
experience
think that
and
would be the
appreciating
ninth
things.
Doctor.
You think the ninth? He's very scarred, that one.
Yeah, but if you think about his episodes, it was all about humanity learn from what I went through.
That's true.
No one
That's
dies
true.
tonight.
And always stressing to Rose,
Yeah.
the human beings, such amazing creatures. Oh, Uncle Iroh.
Oh, Uncle Iroh's a good
That's
one.
nice. I don't know if he's necessarily a great mentor, or he's just make me feel good. Like he's like a counselor.
Well, okay. How about Bob Ross?
No, I can't take him seriously.
Really?
I cannot take Bob Ross seriously.
Really?
With his happy little tree here. Okay. Mitch says General Adama. Ooh. Is Bill a mentor? But there's a lot of harsh choices, that man. Okay. Adopt na lang tayo sa kanila. Are we talking about parents, mommy and daddy for Janeway? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of enough. Tristan, Granny Weatherwax. Ooh, I agree with you. Granny Weatherwax is one of my favorite characters in this world. And I still read the Tiffany Aching books precisely because Granny Weatherwax featured in them tangentially. But she's definitely one of my favorite characters to come out of that series. So I
Noelle
agree.
has a good one. Michelle Visage.
Michelle Visage.
Because she really does have meat when she gives her feedback.
I guess that's something.
It's not just her feelings. There's a lot of history behind her statements.
Yeah, and then I think I appreciate if you listen to how people talk about Michelle Visage outside of the show. So people who have toured with Michelle and stuff, they always have lots of great things to say to her. I feel like she becomes like a tour mother in many respects. So I can understand that.
Mike Richard Branson.
I'm mixed. He's the Virgin Mobile, right? Richard Branson is Virgin Mobile.
Shark.
No. He's not. Well, oh, he was.
Yeah,
a,
he was a
he was a
shark.
guest shark.
Okay.
Sometimes he was a guest shark, but not a main shark.
Hmm.
Because like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, and then I know Elon Musk is a difficult person to work with if all the stories are to be believed. So maybe not him also. But that's already real world people. We were talking about pop culture, but then again, they had
True.
TV shows, so I don't know. I don't know.
and the TV shows are fake.
I would like Michelle Visage though more as a mentor than probably RuPaul, because I think
Same.
RuPaul can only mentor you on becoming RuPaul.
Yes, I feel that way too.
Not shady, just sane.
Who else?
You're looking at our board games.
I'm thinking if any of them will spark an idea.
Ernest Koo. Who's Ernest Koo? Ah, for Globe. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm unaware. And then there are still a lot of people who swear by like the likes of MVP and things like that. I mean, like if we look at our main like titans of industry locally,
Can you think of a Neil Gaiman character who would be a good mentor?
the dad from Fortunately the Milk. I don't know. It's like probably no. That's not a good answer. It's not a good answer.
Because none of the endless would count.
No, I don't think any of the endless. Are
And I
great
think
mentors.
that's what makes them awesome. The fact that they're just flawed that way.
Yes.
American Gods, not really.
No, not even Mr. Nancy. And then Graveyard Book. No, not really. Although maybe the vampire. I mean, like the guardian in Graveyard Book. Maybe he wasn't so bad. I don't know. Odin is not a great mentor. Nick. I can't help but feel he used his son literally to advance his plans. Lisa Gokong Wei for Summit. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Nick says Odin. Mai says what?
Exactly. Exactly right. So I know that was in jest. Yeah. Okay. I think that's like the extent of it. Anything else? Anything else?
I think that's it. I think that's my closing question. Teachers, mentors, and
Oh wow.
apprentices.
Yeah, we're down to like nearly an hour before midnight, so we're gonna have to finish our Duolingos in the next few minutes. We also have to figure out our episodes for this week. We haven't quite figured out the topics yet. We have passport appointments this week, so that should be interesting.
Hmm.
I got vaccinated and I'm feeling better today, so that's step one. It's my first shot, and then I hope everybody is doing well and staying safe also.
Mhm.
And hopefully we get to see each other sooner rather than later.
Yes, we'll try to have the poster with the upcoming subjects next week. But for now, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us this Sunday night as we celebrate our 200th episode.
Oh my gosh, Mish says Mary Poppins. Oof. That's an
Oh.
interesting mentor.
Ooh, that's interesting. Who was another character based on Mary Poppins?
Are you thinking about Nanny McPhee? She's not based on Mary Poppins. She's her own thing.
But no,
But similar
but
archetype.
there's another one.
Who else?
Well, not I'm Mary Poppins from the Marvel movies, but there was another character who used that as an analog. Can't remember. Anyway,
It's gonna be funny. I'm sure when Toby remembers, I'm gonna be like, "What?" Okay, so yeah. All right. So for questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. Thanks again to Kenny for suggesting this topic, which just happened to end up being the topic for episode 200. We didn't quite plan this. It was like after the fact that, oh crap, this is episode 200. Okay. You can follow us on Twitter, Altobi No Shade, RG Sunico.
you could also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know who your mentors are. What are your mentor experiences? Feel free to share. And of course, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride.
Pride.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good night.
Whiskies.
Biscuits.